Whether the team is performing clean or unsightly, we'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, as it seems like it's a custom now, after a game on a Monday, I'm dressed in all black like the Omen, which means we took one on the chin. And this was a really hurtful one because the Giants are viewed as one of the worst teams in football. And after this game, I'm doubling down on that. They're not a good football team. Yet, we found a way to lose to them. So what does that make us? I told you going into the game, I thought we were bad. And I still think we are very bad. And I talked about it on my podcast today that there are 10 teams in this league right now that have one win or less to their name. There are a lot of bad teams around the league. But when you narrow that focus down, and currently, if you care, and a lot of you do care about this stuff, I don't. We're only 6 weeks into the season. But we're the number 2 pick in the draft right now. Okay? If the draft were to start tomorrow, we'd be picking second. I don't think that's how it's going to ultimately end up. You know how I feel about that. I know how a lot of you feel about that. But when I look at yesterday's game, and I've never really given you, because when we jumped on overtime, you guys were livid. And, you know, it's amazing. These last 2 weeks, I don't know if I've ever seen you guys this riled up. Like, at no point last year were you this mad. You were really upset after the Week 5 loss to the Rams, and you were really livid after the Week 6 loss to the Giants. I didn't really understand the Week 5 loss because the Rams were better than us, number one. And number two, it was a monsoon. And number three, Kyle Allen got hurt and Alex Smith came in and he was abysmal. What did you expect? This week, I could understand the vitriol. I could understand your frustrations. And look, there's no right or wrong answer to going for 2 there. You can feel like he shouldn't have gone for 2 and you can be right. You could feel like he should have gone for 2 and that person could be right. I'm on the side of, I wanted him to go for 2 there. I wanted him to go for the win. Had no problems with it. You can disagree. You can say that's the wrong decision. There were no fans in the stands. The only reason you go for 2 on the road is because of the crowd. Whatever. I don't really care about any of that. I felt like we had the momentum. I didn't think the Giants could stop us, to be honest with you. And, you know, I've heard a lot of your counters to that, your rebuttals to that. Hey, you're going to put the unit on the team that may be the worst, offense that has been inconsistent at best all season long. You're going to put the game on the line and hinge it upon the shoulders of a unit that is among the worst in the league. And to that, I say, touche. You're absolutely 100% spot on with that assessment. I do feel like this offense is better with Kyle Allen under center, but it doesn't mean that I want the game on the line in their hands. But at that particular moment, and this is all I'm talking about, I'm not talking about overall big picture. In that particular moment, with the way we had moved the football on the last 2 possessions, counting the fumble by Kyle Allen, we'd moved the football on the last 2 possessions right down the field for the most part. Now, the fumble was going to end that drive. That sack was going to end that drive, and we were probably going to have to punt. But we moved the football before that sack. And then we moved it right down the field again, and he throws the touchdown pass to Cam Sims. I didn't think they were capable of stopping us. I really didn't. And I thought with a better play call, we execute, and we get out of there with a 21-20 victory. But that's not what happened there. We didn't execute, and I didn't love the play call. And I haven't even gone back and watched. I just know, thinking about the play and seeing it unfold and seeing the personnel that we had on the field, I didn't love the play call. Now, I may go back and watch it and tell you something totally different. And the film study this week is going to be huge because not necessarily on the defensive side, but I think offensively, I think it'll be an eye-opener. I want to see some things. Were there guys open that Kyle Allen missed? I know one play in particular where on a 3rd down, he short-hopped the football to Terry. You had running back J.D. McKissick open on a rail route up the sideline, might have been for a touchdown. That's the only one that I know of, but I thought he moved the offense well. I got into a couple of different skirmishes verbally with some of you. Now, one in particular was my man Derek B. And me and him go back and forth all the time because he thinks this offense is horrible and it hasn't gotten any better with with Kyle Allen under center. And this is all I have for you, really, because he wanted to point yards per attempt with Dwayne, which was 6.4 yards per attempt with Kyle Allen. Smaller sample size, as I mentioned, but it's the same, 6.4. And these are his numbers. I didn't look this up. This is what he gave me, and I trust him. At the end of the day, this is what I tell you. We led the league going into week 6. We led the league in punts. Okay? Punts. 3 and outs. 1 first down, and then you punt the football. We led the league in punts, and it really wasn't even close. In this game, we had 8 possessions. We punted once. That's what I'm looking at. We may not be pushing the football down the field. We may not be in a dynamic nor explosive offense. These are all things that I've come to grips with. And some of it is personnel based. Some of it is your coordinator. I think Scott Turner needs to be a little bit more forceful in getting the football down the field. But at the same time, some of you want them to throw the football down the field for no other reason than just to throw it down the field. Like, waste the down, throw it down the field. Even though the receiver is double covered, throw it down there anyway. Now, if it's one-on-one, I'd like to see, and some of this is Scott Turner. Some of it is the quarterback, though. Some of it was Dwayne. Some of it might be Kyle Allen, where they're not taking advantage of a one-on-one situation. Even if it looks covered, give your guy a chance. That's the only way you're going to make a play down the field. Even if it looks covered, if it's one-on-one, give your guy a chance. I see pass interferences that are 45 yards on a weekly basis, and I'm saying, where's our 45-yard pass interference penalty that gives us an easy drive and an easy scoring opportunity? You can't get them if you don't take those opportunities. I understand that, and a lot of you are saying that. A lot of you can't stand the play calling. It's dink and dunk. Well, that's what this offense is capable of right now. Now, I'm not trying to defend Scott Turner because, again, at some point, you have to loosen up a defense. At some point, you've got to be willing to take some shots down the field. And you've got to create those opportunities. And there are ways to scheme it up where you're running a skinny post right out of safety, and then you're running Terry down the sideline one-on-one. There's ways to really put a safety in a tough position. We don't seem to do that. Everything seems to be short. How many times, and I keep complaining about this, how many times are we going to run that same goddamn mesh concept where you got the shallow crosses underneath? Like, that shit gets old on 3rd and 8, and you're dumping it down on a 2-yard pass and asking a guy to break 3 tackles to get a first down. We've got to be better than that. That's when I start looking at Scott Turner and saying, bruh, you got to be better. But at the end of the day, with all that being said, we could have won this game. We should have won this game. And Kyle Allen's mistakes cost us this game. We'll talk about this later. I did a poll in the mob community, MOBB. We did a poll there, and I want to thank you guys for participating in that poll. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I asked what was the biggest reason we lost the game. And the biggest reason we lost this game was Kyle Allen's turnovers. You could talk about Dustin Hopkins' missed field goal. We could talk about going for 2. But without those 2 turnovers, this is why I'm so frustrated, because the Giants are awful. They really are. Their fans know it. You know it. I know it. Now, again, we're awful too, which is why we lost to them. But we lost this game not because the Giants were the better team. We lost this game because we did the things that we've done all year to lose 5 straight games. We turned it over. We haven't had a clean game since week 1. Think about that for a second. We haven't had a clean game, turnover-wise, since week 1. We've turned it over every single week. And for the most part, if I'm not mistaken, we've lost the turnover battle in every single game outside of week number 4 versus the Ravens. Week 1, we won the turnover battle. Week 4, we won the turnover battle. We had 2 picks of the Ravens. We fumbled the ball once in that game. That was it. We've been awful protecting the football. Started in week 2 with the fumble by Steven Sims and the fumble by Dwayne. It bled over into week 3. Dwayne having 3 interceptions, a fumble, and Antonio Gibson had a fumble, which was inconsequential, but doesn't matter. Still 5 turnovers in that game. You then go the next week against the Ravens. You take better care of the football, but you miss a field goal. You give up a 50-yard run to a quarterback. You give up some big plays in the passing game. And yeah, you turn it over too in that game as well. You had a fumble in that game by J.D. McKissick. But then you go the following week versus the Rams. You don't do the things you need to do in that game. And I don't know if there was necessarily, I'm trying to think, was there a turnover in that game? Not sure if there was actually a turnover in that game as much as it was just inept offense. We might have been clean in that game from a turnover standpoint. Didn't matter that we were or not because we couldn't even move the football 6 yards. To hell with a first down. How about getting 6 yards? We couldn't even do that in that football game in the second half. Anyway, we did what we've done all season long, which is turn the ball over. And we haven't been good enough to get those turnovers back. We got one turnover in this game. We turned it over twice, and those were back-breaking turnovers by Kyle Allen. You can't have them. Both leading to touchdowns for the Giants. They scored 20 points in this game. 14 of their 20 points came off of turnovers. The Giants are hideous offensively. Hideous. And we lost to them because we turned the football over. That fumble by Kyle Allen was absolutely backbreaking. I mean, that is the epitome of why you look at Kyle Allen and says, this guy can't start for us. You can't do that. And he said it himself. I can't do that there. At the end of the day, he played well enough for us to win minus the turnovers, but the turnovers are the reason we lost. The defense played good enough for us to win, but they didn't do anything special in this game. The one turnover that they forced, the Giants were on the verge of getting points out of that possession. After a grueling, long, like 10-minute drive that ate up the entire third quarter. We have to be better in all phases of the game. Special teams has been a massive letdown this season. Again, it hurt us. Dustin Hopkins missing another field goal, whether we're missing a field goal or fumbling or allowing the other team to force us to start with terrible field position. Special teams has been miserable this year. The defense hasn't been good enough. They were supposed to be the ones that we leaned on this season. When we were in a rut or we're struggling to do this or we're struggling, the defense was supposed to be the pick-me-up. I've got more people asking me about this defense, this defensive line, and Chase Young in particular, and why these guys aren't performing at a high level. And my answer to that is the defensive line isn't the problem. Would you like more sacks, more pressure? Absolutely. But when we lost Matt Ioannidis, I told you that it was going to be a lot easier for teams to be able to scheme around Young and Sweat. There are ways to offset those guys if you're not going to get pressure on the interior. I told you that already. So this is not a surprise to me. Young, for the second time in 3 weeks, helped force an interception. His pressure helped the Kendall Fuller first interception. How many did Kendall have? 2 in this game? I'm trying to think. I think he had 1. It was his pressure that forced the overthrow that Kendall picked off in the back of the end zone. That was all Chase Young. So, and he did the same thing against Baltimore. And that created an interception by Lamar Jackson. So, Young is having an impact. Would you like him to get a sack that forces a fumble or a sack that ends a drive? Sure, I would too. But, I want to watch the film from that respect to see, because I felt like watching it live, he had a bunch of one-on-one situations and he just didn't win. But I might go back and realize, look, he got 12 rushes in this game without being double teamed and he didn't win. And he won on 3 of them, but they got it out quick. It'll be interesting to see how many opportunities he truly had to get after the quarterback. But the defense doesn't force turnovers. And like it's situations like the Giants had, I want to say the Giants had a 4th down. It was either a 4th down or it was a 3rd down. I think it was a 4th down and 1. And they decided to throw it. And Cole Holcomb, they snuck the tight end into the flats. And Cole Holcomb had a chance. He made the tackle. But what he was looking to do was make the tackle so forcefully that the ball was dropped. And that wasn't going to happen. What he should have been doing was coming down with a violent chop. And I'm going to point that out in the film breakdown. And, and I'm watching a team like Baltimore. And everything that they do is centered around violence, hands, forcing the football out. I watched them against the Eagles this week. They forced at least 5 or 6 fumbles in that game. The ball was on the carpet at least 5 or 6. You know why? Because they're going after the football. We don't go after the football. We just want to make the tackle. Then we want to get up and stand over guys like we doing something. DeShazer Everett hits Daniel Jones hard with his shoulder. Jones still goes forward an extra yard. Yet he wants to get up, stand over Daniel Jones and talk shit. And I'm looking like, you didn't force a fumble. You didn't do anything big there. Daniel Jones is just fine. He's a big boy. He's 6'4". He's 225 pounds. He's a big boy. He weighs more than you do. He's fine. You didn't do anything. But yet we want to get up talking shit. That's the stuff that makes me upset. Go make a play. Don't talk shit about making a hit. They still caught the goddamn football. They're still moving the sticks. Go make a goddamn play. Go force a fumble. Go pick a pass off. Go do something worth noting, and then you can get up and you can flex or you can talk some shit. You can flap your damn gums. But we're so preoccupied with trying to do this and do that, but we're not doing anything meaningful. And Del Rio talks about turnover Thursdays and all of this. I haven't seen them. We're not forcing any fumbles. We're not doing anything impactful. I don't know what the hell you guys are doing on turnover Thursdays, but I'm not seeing this shit translate to the field on Sundays. So there's a lot of things to be frustrated about, but the defense, for the most part, did what they were supposed to do. The Giants had less than 260 yards of total offense. Daniel Jones barely had 100 yards passing in this game. They did the things that they needed to do to give us a chance, but they didn't create short fields. They didn't create turnovers. They just got one, and that turnover got us a touchback and took points off the scoreboard. That was it. You know, when the Giants needed to get a first down or two to flip the field position, they did. You had a chance to pin them deep in their own territory and force them to punt, and they would get 2 first downs and then punt. Well, that's the difference between us starting this drive at our own 42 and us starting that drive at our own 22. Now we got to go the length of the field. As we all know, this offense is not explosive. I do want to say this. I don't know how much Logan Ryan costs. I don't know what the Giants paid for him. And I know some of you were really talking about Logan Ryan and how good of an addition he would be to this team. And I was like, nah, I'm good. He's an older guy. They already spent money at the cornerback position on Kendall Fuller. They're not going to spend any more money. I don't know how much he costs, but man, was he good in this game. And I said, man, we could use one of those. I don't know how much he costs, but he was really good. He was all over the field. They blitzed him. He was great in coverage. He tackled well. He was all over the football field. He saved a touchdown on a pass down there towards the end zone. Like, he was all over the place, man. Anyway, this was so disappointing because this was a game that you look at and you say, we should win this game. And we should have. Could have, but we didn't. And that's why we're 1-5. Because we don't know how to, and that's what Ron is trying to do. He's trying to change the culture. We don't know how to win these games. We got to learn how to win these games. Got to find a way to pull these games out. And that one stung. Because, again, you lost to a team that's inferior to you. At least in my mind. I know some of you are going to say, how can you say that? We lost. I watched the game. That's why I can say that. I watched the game. The better team, and this happens quite often where the better team doesn't necessarily win. See it all the time. It's not the first, nor will it be the last time I see it. Especially with this team. We'll play some more awful teams. We'll play the Giants again. No guarantees that we'll beat them the next time. I did guarantee one thing to you guys. I know. That's setting a really low bar and hitting it. I understand that. But you were so irate after the Rams game, I felt the need to have to guarantee that we wouldn't play as bad as we did versus the Rams versus the Giants. I felt the need to have to go out on public record of saying, I guarantee we won't play that bad. Now, again, that's a low bar. We hit it. But this team is great at setting low bars and still missing. We set a pretty low bar in this game. Hey, beat the Giants. set that low bar. They're an 0-4 team coming into the game. 0-5 team coming into the game. And we still didn't clear that bar. Still didn't hit it. So we're the kings and masters of setting a low bar and still not hitting it. Still not clearing that bar. But I set a low bar. I hit it. I told you we weren't going to play bad. This team is improving. But we've got a ton of holes. And look, at the end of the day, we got injuries now. And there are a lot of things. And we got a quarterback situation that's not ideal. I'm telling you that Kyle Allen gives us the best chance to win. What does that really even mean when you look at the grand scheme of what we're putting on the field anyway? I understand that. I'm no dummy. I know what I'm saying, and I know what that means. Kyle Allen, it's exactly what I said. Kyle Allen gives us the best chance to win. He does. Of all four quarterbacks, counting Steven Montez on the practice squad, he gives us the best chance to win. What does that actually mean? What it means is he knows the offense. He's willing to move his damn feet. He can create off schedule, and he's going to be able to go through his progressions and get the football where it's supposed to go. What that also means is that you're probably going to have at least one, maybe two turnovers in that game as well, because that's what Kyle Allen does. I've seen him be clean in games. He won 5 in a row last year to start the season off when he got his opportunity. He won 5 straight games. Had people talking about benching Cam Newton on a permanent basis, and maybe this is the quarterback of the future for us. He was clean in those games for the most part. And then the turnovers came. And that's his thing. That's his deal. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. He's the equivalent of Colt McCoy and Jay Gruden's offense. Does Colt McCoy give you a better opportunity to win than Dwayne did last year and Case Keenum did last year? Yeah, he did. You know why? Because he knew the damn offense. When Jay was here, he gave you a better shot than anybody else on the roster because he knew the offense and he could execute the offense better than the other two guys. The problem is with Colt McCoy, expect 1 or 2 turnovers minimum. So you're probably still going to lose the damn game even though he gives you the best chance to win because the rest of the talent around him isn't enough to overcome those mistakes. And that's the problem that we have as a team right now. Kyle Allen is good enough to win with. If the rest of the team is good around him, which we're not. And that's in where the problem lies. Is there not enough talented guys? There are not enough playmakers. The offensive coordinator isn't good enough. We're not scheming it up well enough defensively. We're not figuring out ways to get it done. And I figured out where the hell Kendall Fuller was on that touchdown pass. So Washington got all jazzy and snazzy on us. Oh, we want to start maximizing Kendall Fuller. We're going to move him around. We're going to put him at safety. So on that particular snap, he was at safety instead of at corner, which is why somebody suggested to me last week, why don't we put Kendall Fuller at safety? He can help us more at safety. Really shore up that secondary. And I said, the reason you don't do that is because you weaken 2 spots on the team. Maybe he does upgrade the safety position, but he weakens the cornerback position, which is way more important than safety. And you saw it on that play. If he's at corner on that play, that touchdown doesn't happen to Darius Slayton. He's going to be there. No doubt in my mind. Fab got run by on that play. Flat out. Anyway, let's get to in other news. Ron stepped up to the podium. He defended the 2-point conversion decision again. I wasn't one that had a problem with it, but a lot of people did. And so he felt the need to say, look, man, we were on the road. And the analytics say when you're on the road, you go. You're at home, you kick the extra point. So he essentially said, if we were at home, if this game were at FedEx Field, I would have kicked the extra point. We would have went to overtime. I don't know if I really care about that explanation because there are no fans in the stands. Really, the analytics is regarding having fans in the stands. You're taking that into account. It's a lot harder with fans there. There were no fans there, but you know, he in his mind, it's kind of built into his mind. If we're on the road, I go. If we're home, I kick the extra point. I just like being aggressive in that situation. I really don't care home, away. I really don't give a shit. Personally, I understand some of your points about how we dominated the fourth quarter and the Giants hadn't moved the football. They really didn't even have the ball in the fourth quarter. We dominated time of possession in the fourth quarter. And so, you just want to carry that over into overtime. But in my mind, our defense isn't that dominant. Like, what makes you think that the Giants can't do what they did in the third quarter? Which is have a 10-minute drive and take it down the field. Who's to say we don't win the toss, get one first down, and then have to punt? And then the Giants go on a marathon 10-minute drive. Obviously, you can't go on a 10-minute drive in overtime because overtime is only 10 minutes. But who's to say they don't go on a 6-minute drive and drive it deep into our territory and kick a walk-off field goal? That was within reason to think. Our defense, even though they had been playing better in the fourth quarter, they weren't playing great in the third quarter. Anyway, at the end of the day, he defended that again. He then also talked about some of the injuries, and he didn't have a real report for us. But if you're on the Flick community, if you're a part of the MOBB Mob Squad, I did put that in the chat there. I did an injury chat. I just set up a specific chat for injuries, and I talked about the injury to Sadiq Charles, who has a dislocated kneecap, and I talked about that situation. I talked about Isaiah Wright and the injury and what that means. If you want all that information, you got to join the group. All right, I'm going to start treating this group like Twitter. A lot of the information that I'm giving you is going to be in this community. So if you want that information, you have to join this community and become a part of the Mob Squad. All right, so I talked about that. And a receiver that you could see active this week because of the injuries, I put it down in the comment section of the community chat. In the injury section. So check that out if you get a chance. But Rivera talked about the injuries. They don't have a prognosis for Isaiah Wright nor Antonio Gandy Golden. But I told y'all it was a hammy yesterday. I saw it. Again, I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, but I know a hammy when I see one. So you won't see him until at the earliest after the bye. It may be a week after that, because hammies are really tricky. Just depends on the extent of which he pulled his. And you won't see him next week. You won't see him. Obviously, we got a bye after that. The earliest you may see him is the Giants game. I think it's going to be after that. I think you won't see him for about a month, if I had to guess. But we'll see what happens. But it's hard to get excited about this rookie draft class when guys keep getting injured. Young had an injury. Sadiq Charles played all the 2 plays and got nicked up. And Antonio Gandy Golden has been banged up. The only rookie that we've really seen anything from this year is Antonio Gibson. The back end of the draft. Those guys have been contributors on special teams and things of that nature. But, we really haven't seen anything from anybody on the back end of the draft either. So it's been a really disappointing draft class to this point because we're – and I'm not down on the draft class at all. I don't judge draft classes until we get 3 years in. But I was hoping to get a little something out of, Gandy Golden in his rookie season. And we may still get something from him. We've gotten much of nothing from him at this point. And I was really hoping to get Sadiq Charles in here nice and early and really have him be an impact player for us. And that hasn't happened either. I think he is a guard, though. I am excited to see him out there. We just got to get him healthy first. So Rivera talked about this team, and he said, look, this team is improving. And I agree. I know a lot of you don't. I agree. However, he said, I don't know if we have all the pieces. Well, I can tell you we don't have all the damn pieces. He said, but we do have some pieces that are building blocks, which is what we were looking to gain from this season. You try to find the guys that are a part of the solution and keep those guys around, and the guys that are a part of the problem, you move on. Like, you can't tell me watching Daron Payne yesterday, he's not a part of the solution. I told you guys, I've said this in film study. He's by far and away the best run defender we have. And on a key third down yesterday, even though he didn't get to the quarterback, you know what he did? He got his damn hands up and deflected the football, and it forced the Giants to have to punt. He was all over the football field yesterday. But that's not the first time I've seen that from Daron Payne this year. He's been outstanding in some games this year. His impact isn't felt through pass rush. it's felt through his dominance in the run game. So, you say what you want about Daron Payne and sometimes the lack of pass rush that you get from the interior, but this guy's a dominant force in the run game. And you saw it in this game versus the Giants. He was outstanding. And that's without watching the film. It's just off of first blush. There's a lot of things, and Rivera talked about that. Allen, Payne, Young, Sweat. These are all guys that you look at and you say, these are guys that are going to ride with us moving forward. He talked about offensive linemen like Sheriff and Moses, and these are guys that, he thinks are a part of the future. We'll see. We'll see. I can't wait to watch the film and see how Sheriff looked in his first game back. But, we don't have all the pieces. That's evident. But there are some pieces here worth salvaging and moving forward with. And he kind of, alluded to that. But when you look at the way things unfolded in this game and you look at what Ron is trying to do, Ron gets very defensive when you bring up the message and the culture. And he brought up, John Keim, I think, brought up about a situation about mixed messages being sent. The whole timeout situation, not trying to win late in games. And now all of a sudden, because of the division, you're now gung-ho and trying to win, and is that sending mixed messages? And he was like, look, I'm not going to talk about the timeout thing anymore. That's in the past. I've said what I needed to say. So he got a little pissy about that. But I understand what he's trying to do. I know what he's trying to do. Sometimes, I told you, my biggest problem with Ron right now is he just talks too damn much. You wouldn't have to answer half of this shit if you just stopped talking so goddamn much. The more you talk, the more you're liable to say some shit that they can throw back into your face later on, especially if you don't do the thing that you said you were going to do. Just stop talking so much. Answer the question without answering the question, or answer the question in as little words as possible. He just rambles sometimes, and it gets him into trouble because the media they're going to throw this shit back in your face. But at the end of the day, Ron's presser was one of a guy that was really disappointed in the loss, and he should have been, because that was a very winnable football game. And 2-4 would feel a lot differently than 1-5 right now, especially knowing that the Cowboys could lose tonight and you could be back in first place. Like, that's a real possibility. The Cowboys could win tonight and get to 3-3, and you would have set up a showdown for first place, even though it's a showdown for the winner of that game could potentially be 3-4 in first place. Still, it would have been for first place. And the game next week might still be for first place, depending on what happens on Thursday night with the Giants and the Eagles. It could be still for a share of first place. So this division is terrible. It's trash. I understand that. A lot of you don't want to win it. And which leads me to my final piece of the show tonight. In the community, in the MOBB, Mob Squad, I'm going to start putting up some quizzes, testing your knowledge on this team. But I put up a poll, and I put up several polls. And one of the polls that I put up yesterday is the one I want to talk about now. I put another poll up that's really fascinating. I want to see, I'm going to let that one rock for a while, and I want to see what it turns out to be. But the poll I put up yesterday after the game was, what was the biggest reason Washington lost the game versus the Giants in week 6? And we got 53 votes, which is a good turnout. And I really appreciate you guys participating in this poll. And so the options were Rivera going for 2, Hopkins' missed field goal, Kyle Allen's fumble, Turner's play calling, no short fields. So the response that got the least amount of votes was no short fields. That got 0% of the vote. The next lowest percentage was Turner's play calling. Only got 8%. So then we get to a couple of choices that were really close to one another. Rivera going for 2 had 23% of the vote. Hopkins missed field goal, 26% of the vote. But the number one reason, and this is what I voted for, was Kyle Allen's fumble. It was 13-13. That was absolutely backbreaking. Even if it turns out not to be a scoop and score, but we tackle that giant defender, the defense may be able to hold them to a field goal. And you can still win the game with a touchdown. Or you could then go back down the field, get a field goal, and tie the game up, send it to overtime. That fumble, scoop, and score with that little time left in the game, there were right around 3 minutes left. That was just absolutely gut-wrenching at that point of the game. You can't have it. So what? It's third down. They got the sack. You got to punt. Punt the football, pin them deep. I trust Tressway to pin them inside the 10, try and get a stop, get great field position, and maybe we can go and win the game on a walk-off field goal. Maybe we win the game on a touchdown drive. But you can't fumble in that situation. That got 43% of the vote, and I thought that was the thing that cost the team the game in week number 6. Now, I put out a new vote, a new poll, and I'm going to let this one rock for a little bit because I'm anxious to see how this turns out. Remember, you can only participate in this if you join the group on Flick. The link is down in the description. First thing down in the description, click the link. If you don't have the app, download it. It's totally free. Become a part of the community on Flick, the Washington Mob Squad. And I asked this question here, and I'm going to see the results for this. What would you rather see the team do? All right, and this is a long process here. Go 1-15, draft Trevor Lawrence. Go 8-8, win the division, but get a quarterback. All right, and when I say get a quarterback, you know what? You could get one in the draft. You could get one in free agency. I'm being vague there purposefully because you're 8-8 and you won the division. Beat Dallas in week 6. That's all you care about right now. Not worried about 5 weeks from now, not worried about the offseason. Just beat Dallas in week 6. That's what you concern yourself with. Go 6-10, sign Cam Newton in the offseason. Go 3-13, draft a first-round quarterback. May not be good enough to get Lawrence, but you're in a prime position to get a first-round QB. Those are your 5 options. I'm anxious to see where your head is. I think I know what the highest percentage of the vote will be, but I want to see. How much do you value winning? How much do you value culture change? Or how much do you want to put your stock in one guy? This is going to be a really interesting case study here. Can't wait to see the results. And I'm going to let this rock for about a good 3 or 4 weeks before we close this poll. I'm looking forward to seeing your guys' participation here and what you ultimately think is going to happen. So with that being said, that's going to do it for today's show. Don't try to answer the poll question in the comment section. I'm not acknowledging that. I want you to join the community and answer the poll question that way. And also, before we get out of here, I do want to say this. I'm going to be live tonight during the Cowboys game. For those of you in the community that want to chop it up with me, I'll be live. I'm going to create a live feed for that in the community where we can chop it up like we did for the Washington game tonight for the Cowboys game against the Cardinals. And so that should be fun. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys. We got the Cowboys next week. It'll be a nice opportunity to scout them, to see what we're up against. I'm pretty sure most of you have been following the Cowboys. You know what they're about, but we're going to get a nice up close and personal view of them tonight with Andy Dalton. We'll see if any of their philosophies change in terms of running the football. And are they a different team with Andy Dalton under center, or are they going to continue to throw it 40-plus times a game and look to throw for damn near 400 yards passing and try to beat you that way? And if the defense has gotten any better or not, we'll find out. But it should be fun, and I will be in the community. I will create a chat specifically for this game, and we can be live in the chat watching that game together. So look forward to chopping it up with you guys tonight. If you're not a part of the community, what are you waiting on? Join the Flick community, Washington Mob Squad, MOBB. We in the building. Become a member and chop it up with us during the games. So with that being said, I'm your man, Louie T. I'm glad to the side. I thank you guys for joining me. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. I thank you guys for joining me. Remember, I'm your man, Louie T. This has been Washington Football Nightly. I will see you guys multiple times as we've got 2 Monday night games. Look forward to chopping it up with you in the near future. And hopefully you'll join me in the community. MOBB, stand up for the game tonight. Cardinals at Cowboys. I'll see you guys then. Have a good one.
Here comes the Diesel. Here comes the Diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone.